Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Coffee with Carl. I am your host, Carl Zoellner, one of the attorneys with Anderson Business Advisors. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about legacy or dynasty trusts. So, first things first, though, as always, please remember to like and subscribe. And then, like I said, getting started, legacy and dynasty trust. So, one really interesting thing I've found over the years when it comes to trusts are many times the names are just marketing terms. So, what is a legacy or dynasty trust? I know there's some groups out there that are sort of coining the phrase on their unique way they're structuring trusts and things like that. For the most part, when you start looking at trusts, there's two separate categories. There's revocable or irrevocable trusts. And any sort of marketing term on any of those is some sort of combination of those two main categories. So, most commonly, if you hear us or Anderson Advisors talk about a dynasty or a legacy trust or something like that, we're talking about a living trust or a revocable trust that becomes irrevocable upon the grantor's death. But the key provisions in there are we're talking about retaining the principal of the trust and not distributing it so that it can grow over time. Speaking in those terms, that could be a really cool option, right? You can do things like look forward in the future generations and watch and sort of even put together financials of what that looks like as those assets compound on each other. So it's a really cool tool. One thing I would say though is you need to also consider though, what does that look like and when is that appropriate? One thing about those type of trusts that you're going to retain the assets in is a lot of times you're going to want or need eventually a professional trust company to be the trustee and manage those investments and manage the trust overall. So factor that into your decision making power if you're going to distribute assets or if you're going to retain them and have somebody manage those investments. Especially as those things grow over time, you're going to need somebody with a bit more sophistication. So where Uncle Ron might have been all right for your first generation, as it hits generation two and the thing is doubled, tripled, quadrupled in size, it's one of those things that it's like, hey, you need somebody looking out for you. To be frank, I mean, even in any living trust, the trustee has a duty to the beneficiaries to basically follow the instructions in the trust. So that's not the concern that somebody's going to necessarily run off or abscond with the assets. The idea is, though, is that as things get bigger, you want somebody professionally to handle them. And especially as it gets to be, several $1 million worth of assets, also knowing how to do the distributions correctly, keeping the finances correct, utilizing those other professional services that'll be an expense of the trust becomes important as well. So, like I say, number one is something interesting about the trust area is a lot of times you'll see these snazzy titles. Those usually aren't technically anything different in the trust world. Those are just different combinations people put together and thought it was a cute marketing term or a marketing term that would grab more business. Like I said, really the two main categories are revocable and irrevocable. And you can mix them or create and put different provisions together to get sort of different sort of effects. So like there's a lot of, maybe if you're looking at doing large insurance policies, maybe you have an ILIT out there, which is an irrevocable life insurance trust. Or if you have a charitable purpose or trying to minimize your tax burden along the way, maybe you're using a CRT or a charitable remainder trust. And there's a couple different flavors of those. So, like I say, trusts are a really cool tool because the list is shorter of what they can't do than the list you look at of what they can do. It's really just about putting them together appropriately. So, I would say if anybody is interested in looking at different trusts or combinations thereof to basically achieve a specific purpose, I would encourage you to reach out and set up an appointment, and one of our attorneys will be happy to chat with you. The other thing as well is, like I said, for most, just a lot of it's just consideration of what's down the road. Because yeah, legacy trusts are really cool, and if it's appropriate for your family, awesome. But keep in mind we really should weigh it on if it's appropriate for you, and or if it's not today but you think it will be in the future. There's some different things we can do from a planning perspective from there too. So just a heads up there. I know they seem to be, well, when there is always talk about tax changes, trusts become more popular. So just to keep your head on your shoulders and say, just be aware. Some of the terms you'll see out there are just marketing terms for simple provisions that are in probably most trusts a lot of times. The one that pops up quite a bit in my mind is the spendthrift provision in trust, things like that. So keep it in mind. Like I said, if you have any questions and you're a platinum client, please feel free to ask them. That's why we're here. If you're not yet a client, I would, of course, encourage you to become one. And yeah, we can have more discussions on this area if you need to. Once again, thank you everybody for joining me for this episode of Coffee with Carl. If you would please like and subscribe, I would appreciate it, and keep taking advantage of all of our free content that's out there. We love to teach and also give you all the free information you want, because now it's not, of course, all altruistic. Ultimately, it makes you better clients as well when you have the same information and we're speaking the same language. So until next time, thanks everyone, and we will catch you on the next episode of Coffee with Carl. Bye.